the last session is going to be the 20th of April. And again, you know, if you can't make that session, just let me know. I'd be happy to record it for you. Or there's always the alternative, the Monday. So they'll be in on the 19th, and that's Monday morning. So hope that either of those will be okay for you. So let's make a start. So the aims of the session this evening, I'd like to just critique some work from last week as per normal. So as usual, very high standard of work, and thank you all for working so hard and creating some really excellent work. So I have been talking about RPS quite a bit of late, and so I'll show you some work that's been submitted potentially for a panel, and then what I'd like you to do is just identify anything within that panel that you think isn't quite right, needs correcting, or basically what's good and bad about the panel. Okay, so this is just practice at seeing and really getting your head around the type of content that's suitable for RPS. I'll also show you an example of a hanging plan. So this is a successful panel, and I'll just show you an example of that. In our theory tonight, we're going to have a look at the vexed question of controlling the light with flags. So you hear me talking about using flags as diffusers, as a means to block the light. So this type of technique is used an awful lot in product photography, anything where you've got shiny surfaces to deal with, and we all know how tricky that is, trying to not get reflections bouncing all over the place. So we're going to have a look at how we can work with flags in order to control the light. So a flag can be anything that's dark, so it can be black paper, black card, foam core, which is just a bit thicker than regular black card. So anything like that that we can use as a means of controlling and blocking the light is really useful. And then moving on in our editing, we're just going to have a look at a simple project. This project is using the type mask tool and working with text in like a holiday type photograph to create a reflection. And then I'd like you guys to make a start on that and then take it to the next stage by putting your own stamp on it. So that is by changing it somehow, and perhaps adding a different ripple effect or a different blur, just really making the project your own. Can I just double check everybody's got their microphone on mute, please, because I'm getting a bit of an echo bouncing back. That's great, thank you. So just remember, stop me at any time if you have questions or anything that's relevant to what's been said and what's been shown. So here's an example of a hanging plan for the L, okay, so for the first distinction. And you can see that the way that it's been constructed, so we've got a guy, engine driver from Beamish on the left, and that's like a bookend, so he's looking into the picture space, looking into the panel. So that's the sort of thing you've got to think about when it comes to like directional lines. So that's really good to have him in that position. We certainly wouldn't want him where the ballerina is, looking out of the picture space. So that's the first thing. So we've got him balanced with a really powerful image. Again, we're looking at demonstration of technique. So we've got really good exposure here on the ballerina. The whites are perfect. It's tack sharp as well. And she's obviously coming into the picture space. And then we've got some different techniques going on here. So some creative work excuse me, things that I'm sure that you recognise. So just taken from the Tyne Bridge, a very popular shot of the chimneys. Bit of compression being used with a telephoto lens, bringing things closer. So don't forget how different your shots can look when you play around with perspective and using a different lens for that particular job. This one taken at the Central Library, looking down on the action. And then here we've got a bit of an abstract, still life, again, 3, the magic number, the rule of odds, and quite an interesting shot there, and the exposure really well handled, so we've got nothing to worry about in terms of highlights or anything like that. A very interesting exhibition image, and that lady having that red top on was absolutely perfect, so that one works really well there. A shot from Cullercoat, so there was quite a few of you did that particular sunrise. That type of thing works really well, no problem with sunrises, but they don't like filters putting on things. So originally it did have a filter on, which made it very arty looking and really looked good, but they said straight away take the filter off. And then another one where we've got an image taken at a miners' festival in Ashington, and then another unusual one at the end, a still life, but again with really good exposure. So that's the 10, and then of course there were others ready for submission if there needed to be any swaps made. Okay, anybody, any questions or comments on that? No? Okay.
It's put me off a little bit because they're really good.
Yeah, the standard is high, Heather, but that's really where you're taking your photography to. So I'll not let you go forward until you're ready. But you know, it's just the standard of work expected is level 3, so it's just the same as A level, and everybody is capable of producing work at this level. It's just making sure that you've got the right images, everything is balanced, and you're good to go. But if you're not good to go, it doesn't matter. You can wait a bit longer until you substitute a few images, you go to the advisory day, which is essential, and then you're ready to move on from there. So the first step is definitely though to go to the advisory day as a spectator. Just so you can see what goes on and you know everything to do with the first distinction. But don't be daunted by it, it's just you know what you're working towards. Any other comments?
When was that advice? Sorry, Jane. When was the advisory day again?
Well, we're expecting an advisory day in October. They are doing some advisory online, but I don't really think that that's as good as being in person, where you pick up on the atmosphere and all of the comments, and it doesn't translate as well online as it does when you actually attend an advisory day. So would be looking to go to an advisory in October, assuming all goes well and we're completely out of lockdown and we're back to normal.
And we can go there without any images at that point. That's the
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's right, Lindsay. So you can go along to advisory as a spectator and then just see what's going on, just see the type of images people are uploading and showing for advisory, and see the comments that come back. So when it's your turn, I mean, it could be that you don't actually go until, say, this time next year. You go for your actual advisory with your images, then you submit the hanging plan like you're looking at now, and then you get feedback on what you've done. And so the people that are doing the critique will say either good to go or swap things around a little bit, but they'll also give you something in writing to take away. Okay. Right, so again, if you think of any questions or queries, you can always drop me an email about that. So happy to correspond if there's any thoughts you have about this. But there's absolutely no pressure to go for this. But it is quite nice to feel that you've achieved a certain level with your photography. So I'm just showing you a few of the spare images that could have gone into that panel that are actually good enough to be considered. So, you know, very ordinary, just out for a walk on a rainy day, you see something like that, lovely textures and, you know, dramatic landscape. So you've just got to photograph it, haven't you? But again, look at the composition, the way it's leading your eye right in, but you're actually being taken on a journey to the tree and beyond. It's not just like a road to nowhere, it's been carefully thought out. I'm sure everybody knows where that is, but it's taken again with a different angle and viewpoint in mind, and again a creative image. So that could have gone in if necessary. And another one just where thought's gone in to the actual construction of the image. So the lookout tower at South Shields, but taken on a windy day with all those lovely June grasses blowing and then just shooting through, and then very careful differential focus to get the sharpness on the tower and beyond. But really well taken. So yeah. I just thought they'd be useful. And another one taken the same day at South Shields. And, you know, you don't need a model release or anything that you would normally need if you were selling images. If it's going in a panel, you know, the image is okay just to be popped in. And so that one could have gone in as well. But again, it's very well seen at the taken stage. So, you know, that's what we're looking at. So basically, all of these are just going for a walk with the camera. You don't need to be going anywhere special in order to, you know, pick up some of these images. All right, so next up is alternative backdrops. I hope this is, yeah. So first of all, we have Dave Bilclough. So you remember this technique from last week? We were looking at creating a backdrop on a monitor or whatever screen you have available. So it could have been video, it could have been something that you'd taken, it could have been something downloaded from a royalty-free site, and it was meant to complement the subject, whatever you decided to put with it. So basically you're creating a theme here. So I'll start off and ask Sandra, could you critique this please?
Yeah, it's a really nice, striking photograph. Lovely bright colours, and the daffodil at the front is really nicely in focus, nicely placed in the frame, with the other daffodils around it, behind, out slightly out of focus. So yeah, nice photograph.
It is, yeah, and the focus is really striking. Angle and viewpoint is really good as well, just to get the most out of the foreground flower. Anything to say, Dave?
No, I mean it was. I tried it with a couple of daffodils, and I thought it worked better with one, to be honest. And I quite like that particular one because the sort of fruit in the middle was more of an orangey shade than the rest of the plant. And it kind of blended into the background quite well with the ones that were on there. So. Quite happy. I was trying to get it to blend in, and which it does to some extent. I'm not sure whether it could have been a bit more, maybe. Just it does look as though it's in front. So I was trying to get it to blend a bit more. But
yeah, did you use the curves?
I can't remember what I did, Jen, to be honest.
Using curves and like the midpoint eyedropper, you know, to get a neutral, that
Yeah.
would have helped to blend it in a bit more. But you know, I think you've done really well. I mean, it does look as if it's standing out from the crowd. It doesn't look as if it's like one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the only thing. But your focus is really good. So excellent work with that. How far was the flower from the background?
That was about, as far as I could get away, was about 600 mil, about
Okay.
sort of
Yeah.
2 foot. I couldn't quite get the meter away to fit everything in, but that was probably about 600 mil.
Okay. So yeah, I think just to take it to the next level, it would just be a little bit more blending. Yeah, and maybe try your curves or flatten all the layers and take it into camera raw and choose a different color profile.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Either of those.
Yeah, just make that.
Yeah. And what can you tell us about this one?
To be honest, that was the one that when we did it last, I think it was on the last course. It was the one I took then. But it was really washed out. And it was only when I saw it again, because it was, I can't remember how I did it, but the actual bottle is you can just see the outside shape of it. And that's a reflection, the blue bottle is a reflection in that. And then when I intensified the colour, it looked as though the actual bottle was beginning to burn on the inside. So I did a bit of post editing on it and just pop that one in really.
Okay. So with that one, again, just watch out for like the, you know, where the burnout is and the highlights.
Yeah, it on the bigger screen that I've got here, it does look quite a bit later than what it does on my laptop where I did it. So I think there's just that differential again.
So again, it's just really checking the histogram to make sure that you haven't got any spikes on the right, you know, where it's off the wall, because then obviously you've just got to pull back a little bit, because it just means that it's effectively a bit of a hole in the image where we've got those, you know, super bright areas, and that's really what we've got to guard against, and just go a bit faster with the shutter speed, possibly to. It wasn't a video, was it? It was just like a still.
No, it was a still. Yeah, it was a still. The background image was on the screen, and that was a still. But I just zoomed it up a bit to get it a bit bigger. Okay,
I think there might be another one, is there? Oh yeah, your Vegas one.
That was one I did this time.
Yeah. And so this one, we've got the Vegas background, and then you had a few props. And did you use a reflective board or something?
I had a green, sort of beige, green, you know, like the material that you get for like a poker table type top. That didn't work too well, so I just got a glass off the bedside cabinet, actually, a glass sheet. And put them on there just to try and get that reflection, just to give it that kind of, I'm not sure what you would call it, the kind of neon effect all over, really.
Yeah, really good focus in your foreground objects, so well done there. And next up we have Sandra. Graham, are you here now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Can you critique Sandra's, please?
Yeah, I really like that. I like the background colours as well, the blend of the blues and the greens and the origins. That it's nicely out of focus. The jar at the front, I'm assuming it's a jar or a flask, is right nicely in focus as well. And I like the colour. The colour in the front jar, the brown, sort of blends really nicely into the background. So yeah, it balances up really well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Graham. So excellent work here, Sandra. You've really got a seamless blend between, I guess it's the beer and the pub, and you've got the table and everything, and it's really very credible as belonging to the same shot. So anything to say?
Not really. I took quite a lot of attempts at photograph to get the one that I liked, and I did actually do it with using the television as the background. I found using a laptop, the screen was a bit small, and I was struggling to get the perspective. So I did actually in the end up using the television with the background.
Yeah, the bigger screen's often easier. So very well done, and all your hard work's paid off, because that's one of the best I've seen. Excellent work.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I must admit, I sent it to my son, who's in Austria, and he said it looked very realistic. He was fooled by it.
You'd be thinking we're out of lockdown when we're not.
How did I manage to get to the pub?
So excellent work there, and having that table as well, it sort of all blends in, and being able to see that little bit of foreground as well in front of the beer glass is all really very good. So great work there, Sandra. Love that. And what can you tell us about this one?
This is I've made some nougat at home. I've always fancied trying to make some nougat, and I've made some. So I thought, I'll try and put that in the photograph. It's supposed to sort of be some sweets in the sweet shop. The background's supposed to be some sweets in the sweet shop. So
okay.
Real.
So yeah, I mean, nougat looks amazing. Your other one's your stronger image between the two.
Yes.
Yeah. That one's a really strong image. That's really very good. This one, good focusing on the nougat, but the background isn't really kind of popping quite as much as it should, because we're not that sure what it is that we're looking at.
Yeah,
I mean,
what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's the only thing with that one.
Yeah.
Next up we have Lindsay. Fiona, are you here now?
I am, yes.
You are. Would you like to critique this image, please, Fiona?
Yes, well, it's a very fine gin and tonic. We'll go with it's a gin and tonic, not a glass of water, shall we? It works very well against the blue background. The colours, work incredibly well. And the glass is very sharply in focus. Even the water droplets running down the outside are really sharp. It looks good. Yeah, very, it would be a very effective product shot.
Yeah, it's really good, and the lemon looks really enticing. Nice bit of glisten on that. It could have just done with being lifted a little bit in terms of brightness. So you've got the exposure, but if it was just that little bit brighter, it would have drawn us into the image a little bit more, Lindsay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. This wasn't what I set off doing. I started doing a sort of a shell and a sea shot, but I could not get it to blend at all. I mean, it just looked so false that I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to do a generic background and do a gin and tonic. And I did. There's another one as well with a different background, but it was just to kind of to demonstrate the just the different effect of a different background, really. But it wasn't where I started when I started doing this early on Sunday. To finally submit this when I finally did. I actually found it quite difficult to do, to get this sort of the blending of an object with the background, and even the setup. Oh my God, that's so difficult to sort of, just to think about what your object is on and how you're going to, blend that into the shot. There was a lot of thought, going into just getting a screen behind an image, to be honest.
There is a lot of thought, and then of course there's a lot of disruption as well, because when you're at home you've usually got virtually everything you need, and then you start pulling things out and looking for different resources, and you end up with quite a mess wherever you're working. But it's paid off. The end result is a good image, and it fits the bill, ticks all of the right boxes. Well done. And so this one, you've taken it the next stage where you've used lemons in the background.
Yeah. Which I actually thought was a better image, although I'm not so sure when I've seen it on on the screen. But when I was doing it, I thought that was a more effective image, albeit it's maybe cropped a bit.
I think it's got slightly better balance to it than the last one. So if we look at this one, we've got this negative space here, and then we've got the lemon, right up against the side of the picture space. So here it just kind of gels a bit better. How far was the glass away from the background?
I like Dave, I couldn't get a meter. I mean, I just couldn't be. I tried to get it as far as I possibly could, but it was nothing like a meter. Probably half a meter, really.
Okay, and then you've had the same problem with some bounce back of reflections. Yeah. And so that's what we're going to address tonight using flags, just to improve again on this type of photography and how we can minimise these reflections creeping in.
There's quite a bit of bounce back, sorry, there is quite a bit of, when you look at it, isn't there? There's a lot, there's up at the top as well, underneath that top lemon, there's a lot of colouring going on.
Yeah, there is, and it's a shame because it's detracting from the actual solid image that you've taken. So that new technique might help quite a bit. Well done. So next up we have Paul. Paul's not with us this evening because it's his wife's birthday. So we'll just critique the image as per normal. Karen, could you say something? So first of all, we've got Paul's setup. Okay, so he's got his little people here, he's got his background on his laptop, he's got a board set up, he's got his lighting and everything, and then that's his final product, the sleeping dragon.
All right. Yes, I like that, and the background's quite effective actually, just so that it's not too bright, and it just looks like it's a dark night, and it's and he's out there with his dragon in a sort of fiery night. So and the foreground's good, looks realistic, sort of rocks where the dragon's hiding as well. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it is a fun image. A lot of people have used Lego for this type of compositing, and it does work well, I have to say. So yeah, thank you for that, Karen. Pass that on to Paul. Next up we have Heather. Nick, could you critique this one, please?
Yeah, I think it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think it works really well. I probably would have brought the candle in a bit further into the image if there was a way of doing that. Although where it is, it obviously works really well in terms of the scales, quite similar to the background. But yeah, really good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so anything to tell us about this one, Heather? Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I think I kind of missed the brief about making sure it blended in. I was maybe making it a little bit more abstract than other people's are, in which case I probably would have made the foreground, instead of the grass, something a bit darker as well. But yeah, I just tried a few different things, and that was just one idea that I had, and I ended up, the picture had less candles, and I ended up just cloning a few more on. But I didn't, because I was using an iMac, I couldn't really get the distance like a lot of people have said, so I definitely couldn't get anything like a meter. It's much closer than that. But yeah.
Okay, I think the idea is really good, Heather. I think the candles are really effective as the backdrop. But just as you've outlined, instead of the grass, if we had a darker foreground and a little bit of space, so that the tea light wasn't right up against the edge of the picture space, it would work really well. So it's maybe another one to revisit because it is really effective. And this type of thing can be really effective for like a candlelight portrait. So you can have somebody just sort of head on hands and then a whole lot of tea lights in front of them, and it makes a beautiful soft glow for a really stunning tea light portrait. So it can work very well for that as well. So a very good idea there, Heather.
When I look at it now, I think it might have been better if I'd sort of cropped the bottom bit out, and then you could just see the top bit like you can in the background. That might have worked as well.
Yeah, it might have done. So another thing to have a look at. So definitely not one to throw away. And then this one, really interesting as well. Anything to tell us about this one?
I think my daffodils were a little bit less fresh than they could have been. But yeah, I thought about doing it the day before, and by the time I got to daffodils, they were going slightly curled. But same sort of idea as Graham. Just thought I'd just do a background of daffodils, and again, it's not that far in front, but I think it just kind of looks like you've maybe picked them from that field. So
Yeah.
I think it works okay.
Yeah, and it would possibly work as well, just given the central position of the flowers, if you went for more of a portrait rather than landscape, because just to minimise the negative space either side, if we just had like a selective crop, it would just make it more. It would make it a stronger image and just really put more focus on the flowers in the foreground.
Yeah.
So another good idea though. This one looks too nice.
I think it was just an excuse to get a picture of that cake in. It was a few birthdays at the weekend, and my daughter sent us an afternoon tea from Cafe 21. And I didn't want to eat that cake because it looked so nice, but I thought I could photograph it first.
Yeah, definitely. And you added in the cherry background as well. Okay, so that looks lovely. Well done. Next up we have Anne. So it's your turn, Heather, to critique, please, if you'd like to say something about Anne's image.
I think it's a really nice shot. Lovely with the honey dropping down. Not quite sure what the bit is on the bottom. But yeah, it's nice colours. The colours blend in quite well. Same sort of colour as the bees. Is it a finger or something maybe at the foreground?
Is it maybe a cake? I don't know. Anne will have to enlighten us. Thank you, Heather. Anything to say, Anne?
It's a Scotch pancake. One of those, drop scone type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, Scotch pancake. Well, I struggled for two reasons, really. One, as Lindsay said, I struggled with the setup. And then, as Heather said, I hadn't quite got the brief about making it blend in, I don't think. So I had every piece of furniture in the house pulled to bits, and I couldn't get the height differential right somehow. So I was trying, balancing things on things and so on and so forth. I ended up doing it with the television, and then it's on a high stand. Then I couldn't get the table at the right, and it just was driving me mad, really. So I was just glad to get something in the end that I could sort of, submit. But I think on the looking at it on the right hand side, it's sort of blown. It was about a metre away from the television, and I think it's too blurred, the background somehow. And then maybe I could have cropped that bit off where it's the highlights, But I did not find this easy at all, because I kept up all the time having this sort of bottom of the monitor showing. And I was, as I say, different bits of furniture and trying, and I just really struggled with the setup of it. So by the time I finally managed to get something, I hadn't twigged at all about making it blend, really.
This is excellent, though. And this, just go back, this honey, what's this called? A honey dripper or a pourer?
Well, I don't know what it's called. We were having that conversation in our house. I don't know what it's called.
Well, whatever it's called.
It makes me laugh, because I remembered you saying last week, it helps if it's something you really like. I absolutely hate honey. I detest it.
But I mean, this is just so good because it's so very unusual. And then you've got the honey just sort of dripping down, and it's so interesting, and the focus is excellent. So that part of the image is absolutely brilliant, Anne. So that you could use again. You know, just something, because it's so different, even over just like a honey pot with a black background, and then you've got all that lovely texture and sheen coming through. You know, it's been well worth all of your efforts just to get that.
I was happy with that, because you can almost see it's about to drop off. It was just the distance from the background, and as I say, getting the height differentials, you know, that was the problem. And when Heather said she wasn't sure what it was, I wanted there to be something, because I didn't want honey just dripping everywhere. So I'm going to have something to catch this honey.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, I've got a Scotch pancake, that'll do. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I would definitely use that again, though, because that is fantastic. So, sorry to hear you've had such trials and tribulations. I hope this one was a bit smoother, the harmonica.
Well, kind of. But this one wasn't the television. This was an attempt with the monitor. And again, it was getting the height. I don't seem to have appropriate furniture in my house, or I don't know. So I had to end up holding that. If I had the harmonica flat on the desk that I had in front of it, it just didn't look very interesting. So I'm sort of holding it at an angle out of the shot. Before I was happy with it, really.
But I love the diagonal in that one, so that one's turned out really well. I'd definitely go back to your honey one. I really like that. That's great. But good work with that too. Next up we have Philip's image. Could I ask David Howarth to critique, please?
Yeah, the elephant's very clear in the front, isn't it? And there's a nice blurred image in the background. But still, you still know what it is. You know, it's not become abstract, has it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's working really well. Philip, are you here now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think there's something that's sort of helping it blend. You know, the exposure on the elephant and the way it's reasonably well exposed behind, but subdued slightly.
So thank you for that, David. Anything to say about this one, Philip?
Well, I was just trying to come up with something and find a suitable background shot, and had taken that picture of some wild flowers from low down, looking up at the sky, and I just thought the colours and the lighting would work okay with the elephant. So the elephant's actually on a small piece of wood, which, I'm guessing it looks like a little footbridge or something, but it's making its way across. And that was balanced on the keyboard of the laptop with the image on the screen behind. And then it was so the distance between the elephant and the screen is not that great, really. It's just a few centimeters, I suppose. And then with a macro lens. So yeah, it seemed to work okay. As if it was exploring this field of wildflowers.
It's a really good blend, though, because what's really good about it is the tones, and everything is blending in really well, and that's what's really good. So you've certainly achieved the objective there. And then this one, what can you tell us about this one?
Well, this was sort of copying the fireplace idea. So that was an image I found online. So it's on the shot glass has got coffee in it, and I was thinking, maybe there's such a thing as a coffee shot or something. I don't know. I don't really drink coffee or shots of anything to do with coffee. But I thought, it will look like something that really does exist, a shot of coffee. And then the fire image is on the laptop, and so I positioned the laptop just on some boxes on a chair at the dining table, so that the keyboard was sort of underneath the table, but the screen was projecting above the side of the table. and then just positions the coffee shot in front of it. The tricky thing was getting the exposure right, because the coffee is quite dark and the glass is quite dark, and then the flames were quite bright behind on the screen. I think that's the thing that I'm not so happy with, is just the flames are a bit too bright.
Yeah, that's the only thing that lets it down. I mean, perhaps you could have used your adjustment brush just to selectively tone down the flames, just so that they're not quite so blown out. So that would be something you could just go back and fix the raw file. But the glass works well. We've got really nice reflections coming through, and then the foreground works well. Everything is really good. It's just really the background needs a little bit of attention just to tone it down a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's still a good image, but not quite as good as the elephant. And then you've entered this one in as well, and this was because you didn't do a lens flare. Is that right?
Yes, I was just making up for the fact I didn't do it the week before, so just looking for a good lens flare opportunity. And I just had that picture. I'd sort of forgotten about it really, and then was just looking through some old images, and there was a gap in the trees at the top right. I thought, oh, that'd be perfect to position the sun there, and I think it works quite well. It lightens the whole image, and it makes it really something very different from how the original image was, which was quite flat.
Definitely, yeah. It has certainly given you a really nice version of your original, warmed things up a treat, so it's got a completely new colour balance and colour palette, and that diagonal is really good, very strong, and it's just brought a lovely warmth to the lion as well. So yeah, a very good image to use. Well done. Next up we have Karen. Could I ask Lindsay to critique, please? Are you muted, Lindsay? Or have you had to go? Okay, the new course starts Tuesday the 11th of May. So we're in class next week for week 9. That's the 30th. Then we've got the Easter holidays, and then our very last session is the 20th of April. So sorry about that. I've just had to change to a different band on the router. Somebody's obviously started an Xbox up, so they're going to be in serious trouble. So let's just get back to what we were doing. So next up we have Karen. Lindsay, could you critique, please?
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Just give me one moment. Get back into that. It's when you come out of it, you've got to do everything again, which is a bit annoying.
It's lovely.
Right, here we go again. Right.
Oh yeah, this is very good, isn't it? This works really well. Good background, good choice of background, nicely in focus. Nice choice of colours as well. They sort of blends nicely. A good fit of the brief.
Yeah, it is a good one. Thank you, Lindsay. Anything to say, Karen?
Just this is a little alien I've had for ages, and I like him very much. And we thought we could put him on Mars. So he's on Mars properly now. So it's quite good fun.
Yeah, and you've made an excellent job of this. So composition's strong, background's good, the lighting's spot on, and so everything's come together really well. So excellent work there, Karen. I wonder what RPS would make of that. And here he is again.
He was having a good day.
So different choice of background here. Again, I really like the way that you've done your blending with both of these images. So very well done. Next up we have Graham. Could I ask Philip to critique, please?
Yeah, I think this looks a really nice composition. You can't really tell that there's an image behind the foreground subject matter that's been projected on the screen. It just looks like it's a composition of the whole thing together with a very clear with the background showing those cogs. I think that fits with the clock. And the circles of the cogs behind sort of mirror the round clock face as well. Nicely positioned, no distortion or sort of barreling or anything like that. It looks really good. Yeah. Colours work well together as well.
Oh, thank you for that, Philip. So a good critique. Anything to say, Graham?
No, I mean, I think like a lot of people, I just sort of struggled to. That was in front of the TV. It was just trying to balance it up. I would have preferred to have had less of the platform underneath, but I was sort of quite happy with the background and the colours and that. So yeah, that's probably me. Only thing, if I could, I would have tried to get rid of more of the table it was on. That was about it, really.
As an alternative, I'd love to see it in black and white.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Just because you've got some really nice textures going on there, so it's quite interesting, that foreground texture, and also what's happening in the background. So we've got quite good separation of tone, so I think it would make a really interesting black and white as well. So if you do convert it, just upload it with your homework so we can have a look at that and compare it with this version. So very, very well done there, Graham. I like that a lot. And this one, anything to tell us about this, Graham?
Yeah, funny enough, I was making a coffee. I thought, I might as well use it as a subject matter, I thought, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but rather than go for a sort of a warming, I thought I'll go for something where it's frosty outside. I think if I had more time, I might have put some steam off the top, but I was sort of quite happy with the background. It's like a frosty image, obviously, with the sort of snowflake. So, yeah, again, I was sort of quite happy with it. Yeah,
you've done well with both of those. So really good. Good focusing on your glass as well. Well done. Okay. So we'll have a look to see how you got on with your creative composites. So Sandra, anything to tell us for this Highland cow looking for cow corner?
Cricket joke. Just followed the instructions. I mean, I found it quite difficult to blend the cow into the grass properly, but I think I've made a reasonable job of it, provided you don't look too closely.
Yeah, it is hard, especially with that type of perfect turf. It's not as if you can just sort of pull up some tufts of grass and have them around the cow's feet, which ordinarily you could, and make it a bit more believable. So yeah, it works really well, and it's good practice with cutouts and blending and all of these compositing skills. So well done there. Anne, anything to tell us about your one?
No, not really. We've had a few goes at similar things to this, and I always find this very difficult. It's the blending that I find hard. And after I'd done this and flattened it, I had another look and I thought that swan is massive when I looked at the little man in front of the castle. But by then I'd flattened it and it was too late. But I do find these compositing things difficult.
Yeah,
I suppose to just keep trying, isn't it? Yeah.
It can be difficult. It's just really the more you do, like everything, the easier it gets. But sometimes you just got to spend longer on them, using things like curves just to get the tones balanced right, merging all of the layers together, taking everything into camera raw, and using a different color profile. Again, that helps to blend everything in and make the tones look good. On the plus side, you've got a lovely image there. The swan's going the right way into the picture space. So, you could just scale the swan down again.
Yeah. There were two pictures that I actually, took myself. So, I was quite happy with that element of it. It's just, as I said, that swan suddenly looked enormous, and it's not easy to do this, is it?
No.
It's, I suppose, yes, as you say, just keep trying.
Yeah. That's it. It's just honing the skills and using different techniques and working with the light. That's always the key thing. It's the light that's being used in the background image and trying to work with whatever you're putting into the composite that actually fits with the lighting so that it looks realistic. That's one of the main starting points. So because if you've got mismatched lighting, then you're not off to a good start at all. But I think you've made a good job of that, Anne. Well done. So Paul worked with the original provided files, and we just had to have our giraffe walking across the road. So Paul's taken this to the next level. He's balanced everything really well and also added a very nice shadow, because obviously we've got a backlit scene here, so really soft lighting coming through, and he's just created a bit of a shadow to help anchor the giraffe. But you notice how good his blending is, so darken the giraffe down so that it doesn't stand out too much, and the tones are blending in really well with the background and that kind of cyan blue colour palette we've got going on here. So obviously Paul's been doing this a long time, and that's what I mean by it gets easier. David, anything to say about this? Did you struggle with this, or was it not too bad?
Most of it was okay. The problem I had was when you said create a bit of mist behind and a mist in front, and that idea, not the mist itself, but actually using that technique seems to go wrong sometimes. I have lots of problems with that. Consistently, always do. And I can't seem to understand, am I in the foreground colour, am I in the background colour, why isn't it coming out? Sometimes it comes up on the computer and I go, oh, got it. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'll tell you what, I'll go back and adjust it a bit. And then it's not there anymore. And I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? Well, that, it's something that I just do. I seem to miss either that or there's a quirk on the programme.
Yeah, it's quite often, there's quite a few variables, so it could be the opacity you're painting at. So, if it's a really low opacity, it could be that the mist isn't showing through. So it could be that you just need to increase the opacity a bit. Maybe you just need to increase the size of the brush so you get like the patchy mist coming through. Did you manage it okay with the fantasy landscape where we've got the flooding effect and we paint mist in?
The flooding effects.
Yeah, remember the tree in the sort of golden landscape where we've got like a flooded foreground? Then you paint mist on. You don't remember that one? Okay, no. I've made a note. So there's more practice coming with mist.
Yeah, and I had problems. When we did the sort of the figure on that was blended in with the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that a different way because again, it wouldn't work. I couldn't do it on that either.
Okay. Well, if you want to just set up a one-to-one, if you want to, discuss it with me, that might be the way to go. Just because it could be something really simple that I can help with.
Yeah, on this I tried it at whatever was quite a low percentage, and then I ran the opacity up to 100 and then to 80, and I still couldn't get anything, and then turned it to 30, and all of a sudden it appeared. Yeah, I started getting something. I thought, oh great, well what I'll do is I'll step back, and then step the opacity, and that was it. I just couldn't get it again.
Sounds like a program error going on there, doesn't it? If it wasn't
It's-
working.
Yeah, and I suspect there's something quirky with it. I don't know. Maybe I should wipe it off the computer and see if I can download it again.
Well, that sometimes
But I
does
think-
fix a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing it wrong sometimes, quite often, but whatever else is happening with the program isn't helping me.
Well, next time you experience the issue, just let me know, and then we'll see if we can figure it out between us.
Yeah, thank you.
Heather, this is absolutely brilliant. I loved it. It was so funny. You did really, really well with this composite. Were you pleased with it?
Thank you. Yes, I don't really know what inspired me to do it. I just been taking some pictures of the monument just a few days before, and I just suddenly thought King Kong could just pay a little visit to Newcastle. And it makes it easier in a way because I'm not trying to make it real, so you don't have to worry too much about the scale. So that was quite good. But I quite enjoyed trying to blend it in. I felt like I learned quite a lot from this on just blending in general. So yeah, I had fun with it.
Fantastic. It's a really good cutout as well. Very creative, very imaginative. So I think you might have the shot of the night for that. It's brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Karen, this is a lovely one. Very tranquil, very peaceful. Anything to tell us?
No, not really. Yeah, it was just good fun to do. But the blending, I tried. It was actually a really misty day, so I thought it helped because then I could surround the elephant in some mist to hopefully make it more realistic. So
yeah, and the shadow works really well too. Just helps to ground the elephant. The cutout is very well done. So you've made an excellent job of that. So a lovely composite. Well done. Great work.
thank you.
Graham, this is another fun image. Anything to tell us about it?
No, I mean, I was quite fortunate. I found a good rhino I could sort of just cut out and move around. I wasn't. I tried to blend it in using the levels and the eyedropper. The version I've got doesn't allow you to fly into Camera Raw and then change the color profile. I think it might have helped if I'd been able to do that, but I couldn't do that. So although, like I say, I tried with the eyedropper. I wasn't quite happy with the blend, to be honest. But that aside, I was happy with the way it cut out and fitted in from that point of view.
And that's good. So good choice of images as well. So another really good fun one. Well done. Okay. So we'll quickly get through this. We seem to be doing a lot of critiquing tonight. So we'll not spend too long on this one because we need to get some other things done. So Dave, the mountain project, any problems with that?
No, it was fine, Jane. It was useful and something that I will use that one. But it really makes a difference to the image.
Yeah, I think the technique's pretty useful because it's got like real life use, where you have, say, the exposure meters have been fooled by the prevailing conditions, and then it's just how you can easily use two adjustment layers, one for the foreground, one for the sky, work on each independently, and just finish off with a little bit of painting on the mask to bring back some of the foreground details. So it's really quite simple, but it's one of those things that you need to remember because it is effective.
Yeah.
Well done. Sandra, that was your before and your after. Any problems with the technique? Did you find it useful?
I found it very useful, yeah. I think it's good, yeah.
Excellent. And that's a massive difference, isn't it?
It's a big difference, yeah.
It's really made your image pop so much. Lovely, vibrant colours and everything just comes together beautifully. So, yeah, massive difference there. Well done. And then David H., we've got your before. So this was a panel that you've stitched, David?
I didn't stitch actually. It was just one I took on the phone when I was out walking one day last summer.
Okay. And so did you apply like the 2 levels adjustment layers, one for the sky?
I just thought, it was like thinking, yes, I did the whole thing.
Okay, well done. And Heather, you worked on the provided file. Any problems with that, or pretty straightforward?
Yeah, it was okay, thank you. I think I did put another one in, perhaps, of the beach. Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I did find that the sky was becoming a bit green. Well, obviously that doesn't look very natural, but I did it with a few different shots, and the sky did keep seeming to go green. I'm not sure how to get rid of that.
Yeah, so you could maybe just, be painting that out on the mask. So if needs be, you can always add in another layer mask just to, keep the colouring realistic, as you certainly don't want that green coming into your sky. And it's often changing the numbers, because the numbers that work for the mountain project in the levels adjustment will be totally different to what you need for, say, one of your own images.
Well, that's what I found, yes. It was a bit easier when you had the numbers in front of you. But when I was trying to bring out the redness in the sky, then that made the sky a little bit, the bit towards the top a bit green.
Yeah. So did you go into the red channel to do that?
I didn't actually, no.
No?
Maybe I should have done that. Yeah.
Well, then you could have gone into the green and just pulled the green completely out. Just sort of reduce that right down. So just to minimise that. So it's probably a good one to go back to, just to work with the balance of colour and see if you can get it just the way you want it to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the levels adjustment is a mask in itself. Is that what you were saying last week?
If you're putting in a levels adjustment layer, it will come with its own layer mask. And then you can paint on the mask as needs be, and then you can go into the separate colour channels in order to make adjustments. So if it's a sunset, you might want to boost the reds, or you might want to pull back the blues. So you can do that independently going into each of the channels.
Right, okay, yeah, thank you.
And I'd just suggest straightening up your horizon a little bit.
Yeah. I wasn't paying attention to that. I was too busy looking at the colours.
Yeah, so it's annoying that, but hopefully you'll be able to get rid of the green. And Anne, this looks really good. Did it work all right for you?
I really like this technique. I did it on a few shots and it makes a massive difference, doesn't it? So I think this is something I will use.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really framed your shot beautifully, just being able to bring that detail back from the shadows. So very well done there. Philip, we've got a lovely shot here. And so we've got the before and the after. Anything to say about the technique?
Yeah, I was really impressed with the technique. I mean, that was a misty day looking at the town more, and I thought it looked quite nice, but it's a bit flat, and the technique just really brought out the colours, I thought, and brightened it up, so it made a big difference. So yeah, I was very happy with it.
Yeah, and it's incredible that the leaves are just really popping now compared to the before and the after. So yeah, lovely shot. I love misty shots, so great work there, Philip.
Thank you.
And Karen, a familiar shot, a misty beach, and then you've lifted the exposure beautifully. Anything to say about that one?
No, just like everyone else, I thought the technique was really useful for painting, so you can really identify the changes you want to make. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, lovely texture in the sand there as well. Well done. So Graham, see what you've done. Anything to say, Graham, what your findings were?
Yeah, no, I again, I really liked it, and I was quite pleased the way it brought the sky out. It made the sky sort of really jump out a lot more. So, yeah, I was really happy with it.
Good. Okay, so that's the end